All righty. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first webinar of 2025. I guess I should call it by its name, the 2025 product roadmap for Offstreet. We're super excited to have everyone here with us today. We're just going to give it a few seconds. We have a lot of people joining still. So we'll let you get settled and join in with us. And in the meantime, please feel free to let us know in the chat where you are tuning in from today, just so we can kind of see what the reach is like. Can't wait to see that. I'll start off by saying I'm personally located here at the Offstreet HQ here in Regina, Saskatchewan once again. We just overcame some minus 40 degrees Celsius weather. It is now only -5, so very pleased to share that with you all. But before we kick things off and get into kind of the real content, why everyone's here today, I'll start by introducing myself. So, if you don't know who I am, my name is Kyle, and I am a marketing specialist here on the Offstreet team. And we have an amazing session lined up for everyone today, and we'll be diving into some really exciting stuff with some people that are much cooler than I am. So, I'm super excited for that, and I hope you all are as well. Looks like we have a lot of people in the chat. I love to see that. I love to see it. Okay, so if you have any questions that come up during the session, please drop them in the chat or in the Q&A section. We definitely encourage it. And if we don't get to it right away, we will get to it at the end in the Q&A session. But first, we have a question for you. So our little Zoom wizard is going to pop up a poll here on the screen. We want to know, what area of Offsheet are you hoping to see improvements on? So give that a quick answer. And while you guys are all answering that poll question, we might as well kick this off by introducing our special guests joining us today. So first up, we have Levi Hamilton, who is our fearless VP of product. Levi is the big picture thinker who makes sure all the puzzle pieces are fitting together perfectly. And he's the mastermind behind Offshoot's product strategy. And if you're wondering who's steering the ship toward an exciting 2025, he definitely has his hand on the wheel. So get ready for some big ideas and even bigger reveals here during this session. Thank you, Levi, for joining us. And along with Levi, we also have Melanie here today, our senior product manager and the powerhouse who turns strategy into reality. So Melanie is the one who dives deep into the details, ensuring that every feature is not just functional, but it's also fantastic. So if there's a feature you love, odds are Mel had a hand in making that happen. Once again, thank you, Mel and Levi, for joining us today. I'm so excited for you both to kind of walk us through what's next and also why everyone is going to love it. So why don't we just kind of jump right into it? I feel like people just want to hear, what the main topic is today. So let's get into it. I'll start off by kind of directing the spotlight right to you, Levi. Can you kind of walk us through the key highlights of the 2025 roadmap for Offstreet?
Yeah, absolutely. Just confirming you can see my screen, right, Kyle?
Yeah, we totally can.
I go full. All right, cool. Well, those are great intros. I feel like you should be introducing like wrestlers or something. That was so good. I'm all fired up, or like boxers and stuff. So yeah, that was great. Um, well, welcome everyone. Really excited to have you here, Mel and I, and Imogen, who's not here on behalf of the product team. We're just thrilled to kind of unveil this. I think a couple of you have kind of been teased this, which has been great. I think we have a mix of both customers here, obviously, prospective customers, and anyone else that's here. This is exciting for us. We've been working on this for a really long time, and yeah, we're excited to unveil it. So what we're going to do, we're going to walk through the roadmap. It's going to be the 2025 year roadmap because beyond that, it's really difficult. And when you see companies say like 5-year roadmaps, they're either lying or they're not really great at building software. At least I've found in my experience, because it's hard to have some reasonable level of accuracy. So this is 2025, and we actually feel pretty confident and pretty good about it, which is why we're sharing this with you all today. So again, quickly, my name's Levi. You met Mel here as well. Imogen is also, she's really the brains behind the operation. She's on our team as well. And we are the three product managers, official product managers, I guess you would say, at Offstreet. So just real quick before we get into the roadmap, like our job as product managers, many of you would know this, but we're really the ones trying to figure out what are we building it, why are we building it, and when are we building it? So we guide the development, the launch, the continuous improvements of the product. And we do this in four main ways. So the first way is talking to you. So those of you that are on the call that are current users and customers of Offstreet, we talk to you quite frequently. We try and understand your pain points, like what's working, what's not working really well. And if we don't talk to you, our conduit to you is often the customer success team and the account managers. So Jodine and everyone there. We talk to them all the time, and we love hearing that feedback. So that's the most important, I would say. We also talk to prospective users. Again, our conduit through that is sales, and we figure out like who could use our product and what could we build that would help them get the product. We're also pretty nerdy, so we like to look at data. Imogen is probably the biggest of the three of us in terms of nerd size. She loves looking at data. We all do. Sometimes people say this is how they like to use the product, but how they use it's a little bit different. So we try and figure out like who's using events and who's using permits and settings and different things to figure out, where are people spending their time and how can we improve it. And then lastly, we're trying to make sure that our business is going in the right direction. So we're trying to align with kind of where the ball is going to be and where we want to take the company. So all of that gives us a roadmap, and it's a tool we use to align teams and communicate to users what we plan to release. Um, yeah, I'm just going to keep going here. Our philosophy, everyone's a little bit different in terms of philosophy. You've heard my philosophy on 5-year roadmaps are very difficult. You should have 5-year vision and 2-year vision of where you're trying to go, but 5 is really tough. So for our 1-year roadmap philosophy, we really want to be committed to what we're doing over the next 3 months or so. Where it's pretty rigid. We're not going to move a lot. What you're going to see here in the first 3 months of 2025, it's either already being built on, it's built, or it's kind of just entering that phase. So it's tough to pull the plug on that or shift things around. So we really want to be pretty firm on our first 3 months. The 3 to 12 is more flexible, I would say. Like we feel good about the things we want to do. We have a lot of designs and solutions on what those are going to look like. But the reality is those can kind of shift. They can go up, they can go down, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. And then the third piece is, we really do talk about what we want our product to be in 2 years from now. It may not be a step by step in that year two of how it's going to get there, but we know where we're trying to get it. So this middle piece here, remaining flexible, this is where we want you. We want your input. We really do. As we go through this, I think two things to keep in mind. We're trying to get through, like a dozen or so items. With that, we can't go very deep on any of them. So Mal and I will do our best to give you some insight into what it is. If you have questions, put them in the chat. We'll do our best to answer them kind of at the end and go a little bit deeper if a lot of people have the same questions. But we really want you to kind of tell us what features and functionality you would use in your organization, what would help you be successful, um, because there is that room for flexibility. So with that, we're going to jump right in. We're going to talk about new events, portal, and the emails, which is Mal. So over to you, Mal.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks for all joining today. It's really nice to see some familiar names in the chat coming in. I'm really excited to be here today. Thank you to the marketing team for letting me. A lot of my focus this year will be going towards the world of improving events and permits like Levi is talking about. And so this first improvement here was actually released earlier this week, a few days ago. You'll see that our event portal and emails have gotten a bit of a makeover. If you check out those screenshots on the left, you can see that, there's a few changes, some of which are the email field and the confirmation number. These are more front and center now. We've heard feedback on this from customers. And so, that emails are an important tool used by your teams to actually communicate parking instructions and directions to your guests. And so this change will make it easier to keep guests informed both ahead of the event and then on the day of the event as well. And so I think an exciting part of this project is it's going to support some other improvements we'll be rolling out in 2025, like events across multiple locations, days, and times. And we'll talk about those a bit later in the chat. Yeah.
Awesome. So moving on to Offstreet payments. So a lot of you, not a lot, some of you are actually using this today. What this is when you're creating a permit or you're creating an event, and you want the user to pay for it, or at least some of it. We actually have the functionality to be able to do this. It was something we were beta testing last year. And and kind of building features on top of. And what this represents here, we're officially ready to roll this out. So if anyone wants to use payments for a paid event or again, a paid permit, all that flexibility, we are good to go with it now. Up to events of like 10,000 people, we've seen this work for. The reason we were beta testing it is we wanted to test some features and functionality. And in many cases, we were asked to be the merchant of record. And there was just some things we had to kind of figure out with all the compliance and everything that we had to make sure that we were tight on. Happy to say we feel really good about it now. So not only can we launch this for you, if you're interested, we can also be the merchant of record. And we use right now our payment processor for that is Stripe. We are definitely looking at more, so more in the future here. So more flexibility coming here as well. So if you're interested in this is live today. You can go and you can reach to your account manager, and we'll get you set up now.
Okay, multi-location events. I'm really excited about this one. Our development team is actually actively working on this project right now too, so it's well underway. Our current clients know that Offstreet can support some scenarios where your team would like to authorize multiple lots or parking zones for an event. But the setup is relatively cumbersome and the use cases they're pretty limited. And so the first release of this project will show parkers a list of all locations they can park at. And it will simplify the setup of this use case for administrators, so making your lives easier there. One example of this, let's say, student services is hosting 50 guests for a student tour. This improvement will allow your team to easily designate lot A, B, and C for the event, and then also communicate to parkers that they're free to park in any of these lots. So that's super exciting. There's some future improvements we wanted to mention too, which include, actually letting parkers choose where they'd like to park based on a preset list, designating primary and overflow lots, and then even setting things like variable rates for each location. And so we know that's highly requested by a lot of current clients. So excited to roll that one out. Another one here, we have a well-loved and well-used, we call it our directions feature, which allows teams to drop a pin and enable wayfinding to parking locations for guests coming into campus. And so this next project is actually an enhancement to this feature. And so in addition to being able to drop a pin for parking locations, you'll be able to add a pin representing the event venue or end destination, which is exciting. And so our team knows from chatting with you and then even based on client and campus visits that your campuses sometimes are like mini cities. They're hard to navigate. So that could be overwhelming for parkers, especially if they're not familiar with the campus. And we think rolling out this feature will really help eliminate confusion on the guest end. So yeah, excited about that one.
Alrighty, reports. So coming out in March, we have, this is being developed now and we feel really good about it. There's a couple things with reports. We wanted to give it a bit of an overhaul kind of for two reasons. So with this, there's going to be an easier way to set up reports. It's much more intuitive. It's clear of what fields you're grabbing and whatnot. We have plans to add even more flexibility on the events and the filters that you want to run on reports. We also, this screenshot here on the bottom right, we have pre-built templates. So when you're coming in, you want to look for something for permits, for events, for revenue, for registration. You can click on it and that's going to be kind of sorted the way you want. And then perhaps most excitingly with this, you can actually schedule these reports to run automatically and be sent via email to different stakeholders on your team. We were talking to a lot of customers, and this is a very, very common thing where they would go in on a monthly or weekly basis whenever they wanted these reports. They'd kind of set it all up. They would download it and then they'd email it. So this way, it's just saved, it's configured, and it's going to automatically go out at those intervals, hopefully saving a lot of time. Multi-day events. So what this one is, you heard Mel kind of mention this, and you can see us really trying to do more for events. So coming up in April here, you heard Mel talk about using you can set an event with multiple locations. The next kind of thing is, okay, now I want it to be over multi-days. And we're not just talking about multi-days as in, the weekend, like Friday to Sunday. it's really, we're going down to the permit level and letting users create something like, on Friday, this event is from 5 to 10, then on Saturday, it's from 4 to 5, and then Sunday, it's just the morning. So really kind of getting these more complex options where you can set these dynamic ranges. And then when a user goes to purchase a permit, they can purchase just part of that, or they can purchase, kind of a series. So a ton of flexibility. Really, what we're starting with this is at that permit level. So when you go into registration settings, when you're creating a permit, you have that. But then that's going to translate over to events as well. So when you're creating an event, it's going to be multi-location potentially, but then also the ability to have like the complexity handled in terms of what times you want these things to go out as well. And then what will come after this, you kind of heard us talk about payments, this ability to have that paid function as well. So some dynamic pricing for those different packages and things that you want. That'll be coming a little bit later in the year, but that's kind of how we're tying these all together, really trying to give users the ultimate control over the different events that they want to have. And then also in April, we're working on an integration with some parkscapes. We're calling it parks integration. So a couple pieces with this. We've heard from a lot of customers that you do have gated locations on your lot. And the ones that we think we can solve the use case for very well is when there's a barcode scanner or a QR code scanner. So a couple of things we're doing with this, we're creating an experience in the app, or sorry, on the webpage, where if you configure a permit or an event that uses one of these locations, it's going to let you know, hey, this is a gated location. This is going to generate a barcode for the user when they go and get the permit. And then in the portal, when the user actually purchases the permit or gets the permit, whatever it might be, they're going to get a barcode along with some instructions on where to park and how to like position it so it can be scanned. So the work to create that for the user and in the dashboard will be done here in April. And then obviously there's the integration with the many different types of equipment. So we're talking to some providers right now. Our goal is to have at least 3 integrations by the end of the year. So again, if this is of interest to you and our use case that we just presented would fit, we would love to hear it. Please let us know. We're trying to, obviously figure out the integrations that give us the most coverage. So again, if this is something you use, please let us know and we'll schedule a call and we'll reach out to you. All right. Next, we have a white label portal. So you've heard us call this branded portal before, the white label portal, but in May, what this is going to be is the parking portal, the thing that the user sees when they go to park. We're going to add some more customizations to this so you can essentially control your little bit more control over your logo, your photos, and your colors, both from the text to the background and whatnot, all while still trying to maintain web content accessibility guidelines standards. So we're going to have something in play that just makes sure that those ratios and everything is still correct, because I think we all want to maintain those guidelines as well. So yeah, this is really exciting. This is all with the new portal. This will be coming out here in May. And then we have the events calendar view. This is a funny one. Well, not a funny one. We were talking to a lot of users, and a few of them had said, we have a list of events, and if people are managing event managers, like a lot of different events, it's in a list. It's somewhat hard to kind of see and remember where things are, so where they are. So they were downloading them and then like one by one uploading them into their Outlook calendar, or their Gmail calendar. And we're like, well, why don't we just like create a calendar for this as well? So that's what this is. This isn't a final design. This is kind of a design in progress that we're working through. But again, you're going to have that same list view you can expect with all of your events, but you can actually tab over and you'll be able to see the calendar. Within that calendar, you can click on it, drill down into it. Potentially looking at some export options here as well, so you could export a few into your calendar, your own calendar if you want it. But again, everything should be here.
Okay. Expiring soon reminders. So this project is another addition to sort of our guest experience suite. And we know it's been highly requested by a lot of clients. Some exciting news actually is that the first iteration of this was released earlier this week. And so update on that, if event guests choose to enter their email in the portal for a parking receipt, they'll now receive an expiring soon reminder 15 minutes before the parking session ends. So part of this is live today. But the future iterations that are mentioned here include enhancements like SMS notifications. I know this is a big one for our clients. And then allowing your team to actually customize the messaging included in the emails and texts. It's sort of just like a generic message now. You can see that a lot of our projects focus on creating a seamless guest experience from start to finish, with this feature improving convenience for a guest and just reducing the risk of citations. I'm not proud to admit it, but I did receive a $65 citation on Wednesday because I forgot my parking was up. So we've all been there, but yeah, excited about this one. Okay, next one here, automated event creation. So um, we know that the process of requesting events, communicating with stakeholders, and then actually creating events in Offstreet it's just a pain for everyone involved. And whether this is receiving the right details from the event host or communicating the parking instructions to the host so they can in turn communicate that to their guests, like there's a lot to think about there. And so this project aims to really streamline that process. You can see that it's sort of targeted for later this year. We don't have an exact solution for this today, but this would potentially be a white labeled widget or form you would add to your parking team's website. And so hosts would directly request parking through this form, and then your team would just need to review the request, choose designated parking locations, and approve. After that, the event would automatically be created in Offstreet. We do know that there can be a lot of back and forth between the parking team and the host. And so, of course, your team would also have the ability to edit, reject the request if needed, all while sending the host automated notifications and keeping them in the loop. We love to work with our clients in developing this solution. And so if anyone is interested in providing early feedback, let us know. We'll be touching on channels to do this a little bit later.
All right. Registration settings, getting the boot. That sounds like a Canadian, very Canadian. They're getting the boot. When you talking to boot? Sorry. Yeah, this is a big project, but one we're really passionate about. One thing we really pride ourselves on at Offstreet is keeping the user interface simple while under the hood handling a lot of the flexibility. And the registration settings are a great example of, just covering a lot of flexibility. There's so many different settings and different things you configure. One thing we're going to be doing with this is taking a new crack at the user experience, making it just easier for users to set up complex scenarios without having to scroll through, a page or two, eventually 3 pages of different settings as we kind of go. So two things with this: we have some ideas on how to add even more flexibility. You heard me mention like different intervals and whatnot. There's things we want to do. And we're envisioning a new flow and how to do this. So for those that you are using registrations today, same functionality, actually a little bit more functionality, but through a more simple user interface. And they're going to be called permit types. So what's getting the boot is the word registration settings. We're going to be using the word permit types now. So again, this is a larger project. It's kind of a little bit under the hood, but as we work through this, we will be reaching out to some of you because we'd love to get your feedback on that new user experience that we mentioned. But again, hopefully this is going to help you do your job faster and more clear for those users that are new to it as well. And I think this is our last one before we jump to the Q&A, is we're calling Code Management 2.0. So again, those familiar with our platform, we have codes. You can have codes that are required to purchase a permit. You can have codes for things like discounts after and whatnot. The couple things we're doing here is one, we want to add more flexibility. So we really care and think about code should be used both pre-purchase of a permit, but also post-purchase of a permit. So once you have a permit, how do you apply a code with a discount or whatever that might be? So a few things related to that are tied to flexibility of what they do. But then the other thing is we want to have more visibility and control into different stakeholders that are involved with code management. So common use cases, you think like an operator that has to manage multiple tenants. in that relationship, there's like lease agreements and whatnot, that the operator cares about, but the tenants want to have specific codes, because they don't like alphanumeric, or they just want numbers, or they want to know how much has a code been used and kind of when does it recycle. There's just been a lot of back and forth that we've kind of seen, and we're implementing a system that's going to simplify that, where in this example, the operator could set up more rules and guidelines, and then the actual tenant in this example could actually like create and change the codes as long as they're falling within those same guidelines that are set forth by the operator or the lease agreement and whatnot. And at the very least, if we aren't able to achieve that portion in 2025, at least some visibility, so that anytime you should be able to check, how many permit uses have I used, and what are my codes, and kind of how is everything performing or progressing, so that it just eliminates a lot of that back and forth that we hear can be quite time consuming for those that are involved with code management. So again, this is a bigger project. There's a few iterations of it, but you're going to start to see some of these hit towards the end of 2025. So beyond 2025, as you kind of look through 2025, hopefully what you would have seen is about 80% of our time is focused on making the features that you know and love better. We want to double down on events. We want to double down on flexible permits, VIP validations. Like that's what Offstreet does well. And we don't want to just forget that, right? And focus on new and shiny things in different directions. We're really trying to make that better. So that's 80% of our time. These are the 5 principles we follow when we're developing everything. It's also the top 3 are the ones we hear the most from you, our customers. It should be simple. Everything you do should look simple, feel simple. It should be flexible. Again, we want to handle a lot of that complexity. It should be reliable. It shouldn't just go down. We really want to have good uptime, and it should always work. And the 2 that we're focusing on in addition to those this year is we want it to be fast. We think of this, for a lot of you that use it, especially our power users, it is kind of like a productivity tool, like email, for example. And you want, if you're using an email app, you want it to be fast and snappy. You don't want to spend time in email. So we want it to be fast. This is things like don't use 3 clicks when one would do, making sure when the developers are architecting it that it actually goes fast and smooth. So being fast is important to us. And then lastly is be delightful. We care a lot about the user experience and how you use it and the design, and just doing little things like little animations and little color hues, and making it clear of what you're supposed to do next. We want it to feel good, kind of like when you open up an Apple product. The best part is like taking the wrapper off. It's those little things that we're trying to do as well to make this experience for you better. And then lastly, that's 80%. So what is the 20%? We are focusing on some other efforts, obviously parking related. We've spoken to a couple of you about it, that we hope to kind of roll out towards the end of 2025 into 2026, kind of a different avenue within the parking world that shouldn't be a big surprise, but we hope that you'll want to talk to us about it as we go. So won't tease too much of that. We're open to have one-on-one conversations with that. So stay tuned. And with that, I will throw it back to you, Kyle.
Awesome. How exciting. Thank you, Levi and Mel, for showing us the roadmap there. It looks like a lot of exciting things that were released already and also to be released. So huge hat off to you guys for all that work. I do have a couple follow-up questions here really quickly, and then we'll kind of get into some Q&A here. There's a lot of questions in the chat and in the Q&A function, so I'm excited to get to those. We'll be really quick here. Mel, I'm really curious, how do you see these new features benefiting our users?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Our product team had a lot of these discussions, especially when coming up with the strategies and the roadmap for 2025. And so a couple of quick thoughts. I guess first, we know that when it comes to parking management, there are so many stakeholders involved. I think my Canadian accent just came out a bit, but you'll see that we've prioritized features that will not only benefit the parking team, but will get other stakeholders excited as well, whether that's, the departments or the director of transportation and parking, or student services, athletics. If you're an event guest, like we really want to make sure we're building features for all stakeholders. And so the second thing here, when you look at the roadmap, I think there are a few key themes to what we have for 2025. And so the first is really just enhancing the guest experience. We know how important that is for your teams. And so that includes those features like email and text reminders and directions to the event venue. The second is just streamlining workflows, like Levi was saying, and ultimately reducing operational costs. Third one here, obviously, strengthening stakeholder relationships is so important. This has come up a lot in conversations with yourselves. When organizations can offer like a really smooth, seamless, stress-free parking experience for their guests, it reflects really well on them. And then this just leads to better feedback from attendees and strengthens relationships between all stakeholders. So we do know how important that is. If you think we're missing any key themes from this list, would love to have a conversation about that. But yeah, excited to continue these types of conversations.
Awesome. Thank you, Mel. Levi, my next question is for you. It's kind of a hot take, so I hope you're ready for this. But I want to know, what is the biggest mistake that companies make when planning their roadmap? And oh yeah.
Yeah, sure. That's a good one. I think there's, you heard me talk about, I think trying to make it too long and too rigid. I think if it's a year and you're like set in stone on it, you see kind of some companies do, 3 years and it's like set in stone on it. I think that's a big mistake. And I think what we're trying to do here is open the doors a little bit and show kind of what's coming, because we really do want that feedback. We have some great ideas of where we want to go, but the reality is the people that use it should weigh into that. So I think there should be flexibility in the roadmap. Um, and for me, the sweet spot has always been like within a year, kind of towards the end of that year, like there is room for opportunity there.
Okay. We are going to open up the floor now to Q&A. It's that time of the webinar. So everyone, if you have questions, please drop them in the Q&A function. We'll make sure we try and get to each and every one of them. And if we, for some reason, run out of time, we'll make sure that we respond to you directly. But we'll kind of kick things off here. We have a question in the chat that was dropped from Chris. And he asks, are you able to release info on which parks vendors Offstreet will be integrating with? I'll throw that to either of you.
Sure. Yeah, we will. I think it's right now we're looking at a TIBA integration and kind of working through that. Like you kind of saw on the roadmap, there was 1 to 3. Beyond that, I don't think we've set in stone the 3 we want to hit this year. So again, if there is one that you're interested in, we would love to hear it. The more people, especially with that one, that let us know that that's the system they're using, that's just going to bump it up on the priority. So it's just going to be the one to start, but we want to move pretty quick and do some more.
Kevin Stacy has a question here regarding reminders. Does the reminders include permits, i.e. the 1-year permit or anything like that?
It's a really good question, Kevin. That's definitely one of the enhancements we have pegged to look at after this first release is out. That one makes a lot of sense. I think I know Danny has chatted with the Royal Roads team about that one, and yeah, we love to hear that one. It makes total sense.
Okay, and then we had another one drop in. Can I have more information on event parking? Does your product integrate with other LPR systems? That one is from Denise Franco.
Yeah, Denise, we definitely integrate with all of the major LPR systems, Genetec, etc. If we don't currently integrate with them, we're always open to exploring new integrations. So yeah, definitely get in touch with us after the webinar and we can talk about it.
And now I'll jump over into the Q&A function now. So we have one from Kennedy Anders. Is there a way to automatically generate a QR code in Tenant like it does for individual events?
That is a really good suggestion. Not possible today. I see that as being relatively easy to add, but when I talk to engineers, it's maybe they kick me for saying that. But yeah, we'll definitely add that as an item to look at. Thanks for that.
Hey, this one might be directed more towards Levi. Gerson is wondering, will the white label portal be for the tenant platform as well, or just events?
Yeah, so the white label it's gonna be everything portal for sure. In the long run, I think it's gonna start with events, because that's just how the roadmap's shaping up. So you're gonna see it for events, but the intention is if you're just creating just a normal permit through registration settings, that portal will be as well. It's just a matter of when, but certainly in 2025, absolutely, it'll be there.
Okay, and then Gerson just had a follow-up question as well. For the payment feature, in the future, will there be an opportunity for guests to add time once they receive a reminder?
Yeah, yeah, I saw that one. It's a great question, and the answer is yes. I don't feel overly confident on giving you a timeline. If that's going to be, if there is, it would be later in the year. The reminders is going to start just as kind of reminders, letting people know. I think, as you know, with Offstreet, we're trying to keep the friction really lightweight, where you don't need an account. You can just enter a license plate and go. So we're looking at some options where you can maybe re-enter your license plate and kind of extend your permit that way, or just full on doing an optional, create an account. And then once you have the account, kind of have your payment information, you can go and you can do that. So yeah, looking at both those.
Awesome. Now, Kathy Bissett is wondering, is there plans to have the tenant option to also generate a QR code like the event setup does? And then also, if not, can you please add that as a wish list item for the future? MSU is creating a QR code. Will all tenants, as customers have stated, they really like that with the events?
Okay, another request for that. That makes a lot of sense. Good to know that it's well loved by especially your client. So, okay, yeah, we'll definitely add that one as a wish list item. Thanks for that, Kathy.
And then Kevin Stacy is wondering, is there a timeline to add the ability to let permit holders have multiple plates? Question for either of you.
Yeah, Kevin would love to have a follow-up conversation with you. This might be possible today. Would just want to sort of dig into what we're trying to accomplish. But yeah, let's chat through that one.
Okay, we'll make sure we get his info here. And Christopher Sumner is wondering, are there any plans to bring the event UI changes to the tenant/registration settings systems?
Yeah. Yeah, the answer is yes. There's a few different pieces to that. I think there's both the creation of the event UX, but he might be referring to the ability to see, right? We just launched the ability to see all the permits related to an event and that functionality. That project I mentioned, where we're going to be taking a look at the UX for registration settings and calling them permit types, that is the project to make that UX look a little bit more similar to events. And then with that, there's more flexibility when you're looking at certain permit types to like filter and do a lot of functionality with the permits kind of related to reporting. So hopefully that answers your question. But yeah, that's definitely coming. That was the item I referenced.
Here's another fun little question from Malcolm Adams. Are there any new developments coming on registering carpoolers like our collaboration with USC? Is that a potential?
Great question. That's a good question, Malcolm. If you want to add some more context, the chat would love to hear what kind of improvements you would be looking for. They might be on the roadmap. We know that partnership with USC and that use case worked really, really well. So interested in enhancing that one.
Awesome. Okay. We have another question. Is there a feature to allow users to save their card details and email addresses so that every time they open Offstreet, the fields pre-populate?
That's a really good question. So we do have some of that functionality today where we have a remember my plate checkbox. And then actually in our new event portal, we're actually remembering um, things like email too and license plate. And so I think a future enhancement to this would be similar to what Levi was saying, where we want to keep Offstreet frictionless, but we do want to give users the option to create a user account if they do want to save info, payment info, etc. And so that is a future enhancement for sure.
Thanks, Mel. Um, okay, we have a lot of questions in here, so I'm just gonna keep it going, I think. Chloe Francis is wondering, can you connect us at UNC-CH to any universities who use the events platform for large sporting events, football, etc.? I think that's a head nod.
We
That's
we
an
can we
absolute.
can definitely do that. Yeah, you bet, Chloe.
Wonderful. Okay, Justin Santana is wondering, will Offstreet create a dashboard that will keep track of inventory per structure? Great question there.
Justin, we do have some features today that allow you to set capacity limits on different structures, departments, permit options, etc. We would love to build out more features in the space of capacity, occupancy, and helping your team make decisions there. So yeah, I would love to organize a call and hear more on that. We know that's a big problem for campuses today.
Yeah, I would love to know if you are using, Justin, if you're using any mechanism to measure any of that today. If so, then it's more of the challenge is more of just how do we ingest that and consume that information in Offstreet and then present it, or if it's more of a like we're not sure today, we're looking for a solution that helps us just determine capacity in general. Yeah, just we'll have to chat either way on that for sure.
Awesome. Okay, this next one might be our last question here. From Kathy Bissett, question about adding time. If a parker has used a one-time use code set up in tenant mostly, would they need another one-time use code to extend their time?
That's for if, so I think she's imagining a world where we have there's reminders, that reminder comes, and then we also have the ability to extend it. If they had a code, do they enter another code? It's a great question. I don't, again, like I think we said in the roadmap, we're confident where we're at with the reminders about the expiry. I think where we're still figuring out is that actual mechanism to repurchase or to get another one. That relates to, does the user have an account? To your point, if they have a code, does that code just get extended, or do they use a different code? I think we just have to work through those use cases a little bit. So yeah, but be happy to chat with you about that.
Awesome. That looks to be, to me, all the burning questions that I see right now in the Q&A function as well as the chat. I think I've scanned that a few times. But if there's anything we don't get answered, we'll make sure to reach out to you directly and get you an answer to that. Um, but thank you everyone for turning up for today's webinar. What a really great turnout and amazing questions from everyone. Yeah, so we also have one more kind of wrap up, I guess, question or kind of QR code to throw up on the screen here. But that is essentially all that we have time for today. If anyone would like more information, please reach out to the Offstreet team directly, to Levi and Mel or anyone else on the team. And I'm sure they'd be more than happy to help you with your needs. Another huge shout out to Mel and Levi for joining us today. Thank you so much. I think all those insights into the new features down the road, as well as just released, is huge for everyone that joined today. So thank you to you guys, as well as thank you to everyone for joining and keeping it absolutely lovely in the chat and asking a ton of great questions. But everybody, keep your eyes peeled for some really exciting things in the works for our user conference down the road as well. We didn't throw that in the product roadmap, but it is on our roadmap as a company. Everybody, thanks for coming and enjoy the rest of your day. That's all we got.
Thanks,
So
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
see you.